after Kemco dropped us the early N64 racer Top Gear Rally, which at the time was very well received, they quickly started work on getting another racer to be released in 1998 together. Work this time went to Snowblind Studios, who were tasked with creating another racing game which would push the N64 to its limits, and this would be their debut game on the N64. The console by this point was already becoming a dumping ground for racing games, and for many of us we had already had some great racing fixes, so Snowblind really had a task in their hands when it came to creating Top Gear Overdrive. For those of you who are curious, the name has nothing to do with the car television show of the same name. However, the game is a spiritual sequel to Top Gear Rally in a sense that it continues to build on what that game started. For me, Top Gear Overdrive was a day one purchase. I'd seen the magazine previews of it and it sounded like just my kind of game. Fast arcade style street racing which puts more of an emphasis on speed than anything else. If I'm brutally honest, the main factor that made me pick this up on day one was the fact it was one of the earlier N64 titles to use the Expansion Pak, and after having spent £25 getting the little box of goodness, I was keen to see myself make more use of it. The Expansion Pak in Top Gear Overdrive allows a game to run in a full screen medium res mode. You may have been expecting a high res mode, as that's even what it's called in the game, but the resolution with the Expansion Pak is actually 640 by 240. In a nice touch however, you can also run this mode in letterbox without having the Expansion Pak. There were a lot of studios at the time who tried to make a Gran Turismo style racing game for the N64, but quickly realised the limitations of the kart format would mean this would never be possible. Snowblind thankfully didn't try to achieve this, but along the way they did add some great graphics tricks which were far ahead of their time. The cars are all covered in real-time lighting, and in some of the night races there are some fantastic looking headlight effects which cast a beautiful silhouette over the tracks. The courses themselves, whilst only number 6 in total, all look great in taking different environments and weather effects. There are 14 cars to choose from, with a further 4 crazy ones to unlock, and in a minor disappointment, the paint shop from Top Gear Rally has been lost, but there are various colours you can choose for your car before racing in Top Gear Overdrive. It is however in the gameplay department where the game really starts to shine. Put simply, this is one of my favourite races on the console. You'll spend most of your single player time in the championship mode where you can choose from a basic car to begin with, and as you win races and earn cash you gain access to better vehicles. There may only be 6 courses, but factoring in the mirror version of each of them and the many weather effects, this really does feel like a bigger number. Not to forget the previously mentioned night driving races where you'll need to draw on your memory to remember where the turns are. Each of the tracks also has lots of shortcuts and hidden routes, so like another classic Beetle Adventure Racing, the game rewards you not for sticking to the track and trying to find the quickest route across the course by going off the beaten track. On the courses themselves you'll find cash and nitro pads, which when you drive over you'll gain a relevant reward. The cash can be used to upgrade the specification of your car, and the nitros will give you that little added boost which you will sometimes need to secure first place. In a very cool touch, the entire championship season mode can be played by up to 4 players, which I remember giving our household some real cool tournaments, and naturally you can also play multiplayer on single races. In a slight downside, there is no time trial mode within the game, which came as a surprise, and despite there being quite a few seasons to race through in the championship, it is a game which you could complete within a weekend. The game also has no replay function, which seems odd, especially as it's a racing game and the N64 Expansion Pak should have made this easy to implement. Again, it's not something you'll miss, but there are times when you have killer races and would have liked to have watched them back, especially with how good the graphics are. In another minor gripe, it seems like the control stick is again a little loose in terms of handling. If you've played Top Gear Rally you'll know what I mean, and the same floaty feel is present in Top Gear Overdrive. It's not a game breaker, and again you will get used to it the more you play, but when you gain access to the later cars, the speeds and frame rate of the game gives you an amazing sense of speed, and it's unfortunate that handling means you hardly get to use it before crashing into a fireball. Now on to the game's most diversive area, its sound. Top Gear Overdrive have 6 tracks by the band Grindstone. For me personally, I always love this soundtrack, and it sounds very rock heavy and really gets you going when you hit those high speeds. The clarity of the audio however is questionable, and I'll be the first to admit they can sound quite muffled at times, but if you don't like the music you're sadly out of luck as there are no alternatives. The effects are also quite poor. Crashes all sound flat and lacking any real bass, and the engine noises are abysmal, especially on the higher power cars. They do sound more like petrol lawnmowers, but thankfully it doesn't detract all that much from the game as you'll be too focused on weaving through the cars to notice. Is Top Gear Overdrive a Gran Turismo beta? Certainly not. Is it the best racer on the N64? Not by a long way, but there's something simply brilliant about it. Surprisingly, the visuals haven't aged as badly as most N64 racers, and the gameplay is still as fresh as it was when I peeled back the shrimp wrap from the box back in 1998. It's not going to last you months on end, but the short but awesome time you'll spend with it will be one which I think you'll remember fondly. As a bonus, it's also quite cheap to pick up and hasn't increased in value much over the years on the retro scene, so now might be a good time to pick it up. For today's discussion, let me know your favourite Top Gear series racer on the N64. Did you prefer Rally, Overdrive or Hyperbike? Sound off in the comments down below, and if you didn't like any of the Top Gear games, let me know your favourite Top Gear TV show moment. Thank you for watching, and until next time.